musicians, music aficionados, and anyone that enjoys drum reaction videos. Drummer, teacher Tim Connolly coming at you. Today is number 5 in our series, and I'm very, very excited about this one because this is the legend Tony Williams. I can't talk enough about Tony Williams and how much he influenced me. I mean, he influenced every drummer. Anyone that loves really great drumming has to love Tony Williams. Tony means a lot to me because not only because I copy, what he likes to play, but some developmental things that Tony did, like the Tony drop and catch technique, also known as the Cobra technique, that he developed to play faster. And those 5-beat ride patterns that he does, ding da da ding da 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 ding da da ding da da ding da 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 ding, I absolutely love those. I remember hearing that for the first time from years ago from my drum teacher by the name of Kevin Dempsey. And Kevin was able to play that like Tony, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So here we are. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I have to catch my breath here for a moment. Let's watch Gingerbread Man, Miles Davis, with a young Tony. This is from 1967. He's 22 years old. Let's watch it. Look at this guy, 22 years old. Holy jeez. Look at that hi-hat. Look at that swivel foot technique. The tempo of this tune is ridiculous. If I'm not mistaken, it's between 350 and 400. Double time swing, obviously. That's the full double time tempo. The real tempo is probably 185 to 200, but they're playing it in double time swing. Now look at Tony's hand there. Look at that stick. It's liquid. That is what I'm talking about. That's the Tony Williams ride cymbal technique. Now I'm going to put a video out demonstrating this technique because what I did was I developed it from a jazz pattern. Let me stop here for 1 second. I learned this pattern being played like ding ding da ding ding da ding da ding da ding da ding, so it turns into eighth notes. It starts off slow as a triplet feel, but then it goes to straight eighth notes, but they're super fast. Ding da 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 ding. That's the Tony thing. So to get that kind of speed, what he's doing is he's doing a throw and then he's doing a drop. Now throw and drop, throw and drop. So he's getting a 2-for-1 deal. He's throwing the stick and then he's pulling the stick. So he's only exerting one actual effort, and that's the throw. The second part of the stroke is a pull, and it's very effortless. And once you get this technique down, you can fly on the ride cymbal. Unbelievable. And Tony developed this technique because he was forced to, because Miles basically said to him, you got to learn to play faster, kid. So Tony went home, and unfortunately a lot of the Miles Davis at that time was a heroin addict, and these guys were playing ridiculous tempos because they're flying a lot of the time, and Tony didn't want to become a heroin addict, so he's got to figure out, how do I play faster? And that's how he did it. He developed this technique by accident, but he developed it, and then he started using it, and then wow, he can play incredibly fast. Now obviously there's a lot more to it than that. That's the simple edited version because we only got a short amount of time here. I could talk all day about the Tony Williams ride cymbal technique. Now, for those of you that are jazz fans, Miles Davis, of course, this is the second reincarnation of Miles because he had the Philly Joe Jones version. Miles went through a bunch of different drummers. My personal favorites of the 4 different Miles groups, if you want to call it, was Philly Joe, the early days, and of course Tony here. I mean, this is absolutely classic. Look at that ride cymbal. It's insane how fast he can play. And the comping with the left hand and the bass drum, the comping against that ridiculously fast ride pattern is just truly incredible. But this is what Tony was known for, was this the speed in which that he could deliver. And of course, this is when Miles was playing, you know, post-bop, just before jazz fusion, 1967, if I'm not mistaken. Fusion sort of came about shortly after this. Of course, jazz fusion is the amalgamation of rock, Latin, and traditional jazz type playing. And I'm a huge jazz fusion fan. I love the Mahavishnu Orchestra as one of the, and of course Miles as the originators of this style of music. There's probably a few other bands in there that I've missed that also were at the beginning days of jazz fusion, but this is post-bop, pre-jazz fusion, that little middle stage. But it's just fantastic. There's Herbie Hancock on the piano. A young Herbie there as well, amazing. Now you'll notice how tempo seemed to have changed. That's the original tempo. So when I'm talking about the double time swing, that's the original tempo, which is still pretty fast. But Tony changed it again, he's back to the double time. So he's filtering in between the regular tempo and the double time. I think Tony was using Zildjian cymbals at the time, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what, well, that was really the main cymbal that came over from Turkey when people started immigrating into the United States in the early 1900s. Now look at that shadow. I love that shot. You can see that cymbal, man, just flying. Just beautiful playing. Now, Tony Williams, you got to check out his, I mean, this is Miles, this is legendary stuff. It's a young Tony, it's classic, but you got to check out Miles' Lifetime album. Or sorry, Tony's Lifetime album. If you're a fan of Tony Williams and you're a fan of jazz music, you got to listen to Lifetime. That's an absolute classic. One of my favorite jazz recordings. I mean, I love Miles, but Tony's, I remember it's just jaw-dropping. The drumming on that is just phenomenal. Sadly, Tony died young. He was in his early 50s, if I'm not mistaken, which is really sad. Beautiful here. The young Miles there. Tony laying it down. Look at this guy, just incredible. To keep that up, try playing that ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding-a-ding, that tempo for 6-7 minutes is absolutely mind-blowing. That's why I love Tony. Not many guys can do that, but I will give you a hint as to how you can develop that playing. And that is by learning how to do the free stroke. Getting the sticks to bounce. Being super loose and making sure you're not tension on the stick. You want to be really loose. Your fingers, wrist, the space where you're holding the stick, everything's super loose, and that's how you learn how to play like that. So that is the end of that. That was just incredible. Gingerbread Boy, 1967. Tony Williams on the drum. The man is a legend. I love Tony. Stay tuned. I've got some other videos coming up down the road. Thank you very much for tuning in with me and watching Tony Williams, the legend, the legend. I'll see you again soon. Keep drumming, keep practicing. See ya.